Hey everybody, it's GomletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're playing another sealed event of Innistrad Midnight Hunt. These sealed events are ending somewhat soon. I believe they're over on October 5th, so I do want to get a couple more of these in before they end. So let's see what we open up here and see if we can't make a pretty sick sealed deck. So, not the craziest rares? Actually, no. No. Alright, I was judging too hard by the dual land and the Geist Flame Reservoir here. I don't think either of these are particularly good and limited. Geist Flame Reservoir, you need to cast a ton of instants and sorceries to get good value off of this card. Otherwise, it's kind of a slow card draw engine with the secondary ability. And of course, having a dual land as your rare, always a bit of a bummer in limited. However, the other rares we have are quite good. Light Up the Night is a fireball, a red and X to deal X damage to a target. It doesn't really do anything flashbacked unless you open a Planeswalker, which is very, very rare and limited. The Brutal Cathar, though, an excellent white rare, 3 mana for a 2/2 when it comes into play or transforms into Brutal Cathar. You get to exile a creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. So at worst, this is generally a 3 mana 2/2 that exiles one of their cards until they kill this, and at best, if you can flip between night and day quite frequently, you might exile multiple of your opponent's cards until they can deal with this. I guess the absolute worst case scenario, if it is nighttime when you cast this, of course here's the day and night token. When a day-bound card comes out, you turn it to day side. When no spells are cast in someone's turn during the day, you flip to night. So if it's nighttime, when you cast Brutal Cathar, it will actually come into play as the Moonrage Brute, so you don't get an exile off of it that way. So that's important to keep in mind if you need to get that exile off. Sometimes you could end up in a position where you don't actually get to exile a card with it. So the vast majority of the time, though, I'd say Brutal Cathar is pretty excellent. Fatal Absence, certainly excellent. You are giving your opponent a repayment. They do get to draw a card after you kill whatever you want, but you're killing whatever you want at instant speed for only 2 mana. Certainly great by limited standards. And then a Consuming Blob here in green is probably our best rare. 5 mana for a star and then a star +1. And the power is equal to the number of cards in card types in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to that number +1, and at the beginning of your end step you get another ooze that's the same thing. So if your opponent doesn't have instant speed removal or a counterspell, you're getting at least 2 creatures off this card, and the longer it goes on uncontested, the more this card is going to absolutely take over the game. Consuming Blob, an excellent mythic rare to open. So let's see what we have in each color here, and see how we want to build our deck here. So white, of course, we had that Brutal Cathar, so we want to take a pretty good look at white to see what good cards we have there. Gavany Trapper, certainly sweet and sealed, slowing things down, locking some stuff down. The Lunarch Veterans have performed a lot better in this format than I'd assumed. Generally, life gain in limited isn't the greatest thing ever, because there's no ways to really combo with the life gain, so you have to take it at face value. However, in this format, with cards like Siege Zombie that can tap some stuff and do some damage to you, Thermo Alchemist that can tap itself and do some damage to you, all the Decayed Zombies that will randomly chip in for an extra couple damage throughout the game, your life total matters a decent amount, so just the incidental life gain of Lunarch Veteran plus Luminous Phantom has been pretty good. So I've actually liked that card a good amount. Candlegrove Witch, excellent. A 2 mana 2/2. When you get that Coven trigger later in the game, it's going to attack well even during board stalls by getting flying. Cathar Commando is pretty nice. It's good at triggering Coven, and it gives you main deckable artifact and enchantment removal. Fateful Absence, I've already said. Good card there. Don't love the little combat tricky kind of stuff here. Definitely don't love Thraben Exorcism. Unruly Mob can be alright if we have a lot of creatures and some tokens. Brutal Cathar, certainly sweet. Ritual Guardian, pretty filler. Silversmith's pretty great. 4 mana for 4 power 5 toughness, and you spread it out wherever you want. Definitely nice with like flyers and stuff. And Search Party Captain, another great deal. 4 mana for a 2/2 and you draw a card. It's even cheaper if you're attacking with some creatures. So super good card there. Alright, so these are all our best white cards. Blessed Defiance, probably our best combat trick there in white. The lifelink can randomly matter quite a bit again, because of cards like the Lunarch Veteran. So white looks pretty good. Great curve on white too as well. Plenty of cards at varying mana costs, so we're not going to end up with 1,000,000 1-mana cards in our hand or 1,000,000 4-mana cards in our hand too often. We'll be playing cards consistently throughout the game. White looking pretty good. So let's take a look at blue. This is how I like to do my sealed decks. I like to take a look at each color individually and then try to pair the best couple colors together in different variations. So as always, I'll have links in the description to skip through stuff. If you don't love the deck building part, you can skip right to the gameplay, see what deck we have built, and get into that. But certainly like deck building. So we're very low on blue cards, but blue looks like a pretty decent support color, because I think every one of our blue cards is pretty good, except maybe Shipwreck Sifters, just because we don't have a lot of spirits or disturb cards. We've just got the one here, the bait hook angler. But Oregon Hoarder is a great deal, a 3/2 that draws the best card out of your top 3. Falcon Abomination, a 2/2 flyer that comes with a 2/2 zombie. Scab Wrangler, great in a deck with a lot of creatures, tapping stuff down and being really annoying to deal with. And Bait Hook Angler just being a good deal, 2 mana 2/1 plus a 2 mana 1/2 flyer, all slapped together on a nice 2-for-1 all one card. So our blue cards are good. There's just not a lot of them, which can be a problem. Our black seems to have a similar problem, which is going to be pretty weird. Oh, wait, you know what happened there? Never mind. I still had the sort by creature thing on, so we get to look at only the creatures there. We were not looking at any of our non-creature blue cards. However, I don't think our non-creature blue cards are that good. Locked in the Cemetery is definitely good and sealed. Tap something down if you have 5 or more cards in grave. Otherwise, just keep something tapped. Decent removal there. Geist Wave, pretty good interaction at instant speed, but I don't like Otherworldly Gaze that much. Just milling yourself for that 1 mana. And Ominous Roost, we need a lot of flashback cards or disturb cards. I don't think we have a ton of either, so Ominous Roost probably not making the cut either. And then we have Revenge of the Drowned and Devious Cover-Up as a decent late game interaction. The Cover-Up a counterspell, and the Revenge of the Drowned a bounce spell, so did not look at these cards. These definitely make up for the lack of blue cards. Now we actually look like a pretty standard blue pile here. A couple really good creatures between Scab Wrangler and Oregon Hoarder. Falcon Abomination, pretty close to as good as those as well. And then some decent interaction. So blue looks solid. Again, not super exciting, but definitely solid. So let's get rid of that sort by creature there when we move on to black now. And black has a lot of cards, but a lot of high mana stuff. So a lot of kind of redundant cards. So in black here, I still don't really love No Way Out, but this has been one of the better discard effects in recent history, just because you are getting that zombie out of it, and there's some good ways to use those. Cards like Morkrut Behemoth, where you can sacrifice a creature to make it cheaper to cast. So again, I probably wouldn't play it here still, just because I don't love it. Blade Brand hasn't been as good in this format as it has been in others, but it's still a solid filler little combat trick. So I probably wouldn't play No Way Out, but I'd play the other 2 drops here. Blade Brand being an okay combat tricky kind of removal spell. Ghoulish Procession being really good if you have sacrifice outlets and a lot of cheap creatures. So this would be good if we go like black-white with those 1 mana 1/1s that you can bring back from the grave with Disturb. Just getting a lot of triggers off of this, getting a lot of zombies with Decayed. And Infernal Grasp is just going to be excellent in any black deck, just very efficient removal, similar to our white removal. So yeah, our black looks good for if we go like black-white here. Dreadhound, a super good finisher. Whenever any creature dies or is put into the graveyard from a library, each opponent loses a life. So if anybody's self-milling, if any creatures are trading off or dying, including decayed zombie tokens, Dreadhound I've found is a very good finisher in this format. Diagraph Horde is a really good curve into Dreadhound. Turn 5 Diagraph Horde, turn 6 Dreadhound. That would be excellent. Use those decayed zombies to really good effect. And Diagraph Horde's been really good as well. A lot of power toughness for the cost, even if those zombies die immediately. Yep. I don't think I would play all these Morkrut Behemoths because we've got a lot of big stuff in black. We'd probably cut 2 of them here, and this would be kind of the black pile we play. So not a lot of black cards here, but some good ones. Again, efficient removal, big game-ending creatures laid on. Do like the black a good amount. So moving on to red, we have a lot of red cards, it looks like. Oh yeah, multiple Moonrager Slash. Ooh, red has some gas. All right. A lot of red stuff here. Not a lot of red creatures, but our red non-creature stuff really bringing in the heat here. So our red creatures are kind of filler, kind of basic stuff like Brimstone Vandal, Harvest-Tide Infiltrator, Foldarin Stinger. These are all filler, pretty decent cards. even Dread Knight in the late game. Our best red creatures are kind of just like Fangblade Brigand. A lot of really good activated abilities on this card. It's very hard to block because it can become a really high power first striker. And then, of course, if it ever flips, giving your whole field +2 is incredible. Purifying Dragon, also a great red card. This is a good finisher, just being a high power flyer, high power evasive creature that can clear out some decayed zombies and stuff like that. So these are our best red creatures, and a lot of filler red creatures, but our red spells are excellent. We have 2 Moonrager Slash, which is a great deal during the day or the night. 3 mana to deal 3 to a target, or 1 mana to do that during the night. Cathartic Pyre, 2 mana to deal 3 to a target creature or planeswalker, or discard 2 cards, draw that many. Discard up to 2 cards, I'm sorry. We have a Light Up the Night as well, which can be a big removal spell or a big finisher, clearing out one of your opponent's creatures for X or dealing a ton of damage to them for X in the end of the game. There's also just like Immolation in red, so I really like our red non-creature stuff. If we're playing a main color that needs a lot of removal to support it, red certainly has that covered. And last but not least, let's take a look at our green cards. No multicolored cards in this sealed pool at all, so that'll make choosing our colors even more simple. Now our choices are going to be entirely based on how good the individual colors are, not really based off the multicolored stuff. So we'll see what we have in green. I don't love tapping at the window. You need a really high creature count, and even there you can certainly miss on this card quite often. Return to Nature, I wouldn't main deck even in this format. Don't love Bounding Wolves, only having 2 toughness for 3 mana is a bummer, but they do slap on some good abilities to try to make up for it. Flash and Reach, so those can stack up to be pretty good sometimes. Well, it's a little weird. So we have plenty of cards in green, so we're going to have a lot of... we have enough green to play green for sure, but I feel like we only have one big reason to play green, and that's the Consuming Blob here. So the question here is, how powerful of a bomb is the Consuming Blob? Is it powerful enough to force green? Because the fact that this costs double green means it's not an easy splash. We need to hit 2 green sources by turn 5 to play this on turn 5, or just 2 green sources at any point in the game to play it. So we can't really just play red, white, and splash in green, because you can't really splash in something that requires 2 mana of its color anywhere near as easily as one that would require 1 mana of its color. Yeah, our green's just a bunch of decent dorky creatures. Contortionist Troop being, I think, our second best green card. Broodweaver being really good as well. But yeah, no removal in green. Nothing super bomby outside of the Consuming Blob, but I do think this card has to be powerful enough to try to force green here if we can, so I'm definitely going to take a look at a green build of the deck, but I think the build I'm actually most excited about here would be maybe red-white here. So I really like the white. The white is the most consistent looking color, because it just has great things to do at any mana cost. And I forgot our non-creature stuff. And it has a little bit of removal. It has Fateful Absence and Brutal Cathar for removal. So then if we combo it up with a color that has a lot of removal, we should really have things covered there, and we could have a really aggressive curve too. Which can be really good in sealed because a lot of decks can be slower. So if we went red-white here, oh my god, do we not have enough red-white cards? Oh no, I just didn't put the non-creature stuff in again. Because I keep trying to sort my piles in here. Yeah, if we had red-white here, we'd have a lot of finishing power with these X mana spells. Basically, both of these spells, Light Up the Night and both of our Lunar Frenzies, can just do an extra X damage to our opponent out of nowhere. So just being able to curve out with 1, 2, and 3 mana creatures early game, get that quick damage in, and then having multiple big X mana finishers to close out the game, that just seems great to me. We also have plenty of ways to try to keep the board clear with double Moonrager Slash, Cathartic Pyre, and Immolation in the early game. I think just red-white aggro looks sweet in this sealed deck. So, how many creatures did we end up with in this deck? We have 18 creatures. We could still cut like another one. I'd probably cut a 4-mana creature at this point. Got a lot of 4 or 5 mana stuff here for how aggressive I'd like to be. Yeah, I would probably cut a 4-mana card, but all the white ones are really good, and the red ones are really good too. Famished Forager's super, super good in aggressive decks, because on turn 4, you play this as a 4-3, get 3 extra mana, and play a 3-drop alongside it, so it lets you really dump your hand onto the board really quickly. I guess we could just play like an 18 creature deck if we really want to, or I could just cut like a Dread Knight. This one not so good, just a big dorky trampler at the top end of the curve. Guess that is a form of evasion, because even if they chump block with a 1/1, you're dealing damage. But not a card that looks super exciting to me. I do like all of our non-creature stuff in this deck, except maybe Geist Flame Reservoir. Maybe that is a bit slow for this. But we've got some instant sorceries here to get counters on this, and whenever we don't have enough counters to do anything, we are still drawing cards with the 2-mana ability. But yeah, really slow. Really slow for sure. So maybe cut the Reservoir. Abandoned Post does seem like another finisher for this deck, because we're just like red-white aggro, so just shutting off some blocks can finish the game. But I suppose both Light Up the Night and Lunar Frenzy, all 3 of these, they're really good because they can finish the game or do something else. Like if we're on the defensive or we're early in the game, we can still get value out of either of these cards. Light Up the Night can clear out a blocker from our opponent's field, and Lunar Frenzy can give us first strike out of nowhere, plus some extra power if we need it. So we can just, early game, spend like 1 mana to trade a Lunar Frenzy into one of their blockers. Like we attack with a 2/2, they block with a 2/2. We can spend 1 mana and kill the 2/2 with a Lunar Frenzy and keep our 2/2 on the board. So the fact that these have more flexibility and they're also really big game-ending cards means I don't think we need Abandon the Post. This is like a really, really efficient way to close out the game if you are winning, if you are on the aggressive with a lot of creatures on board. But it doesn't really have a backup plan at all. Whereas Light Up the Night and Lunar Frenzy, those both have a backup plan. So I think we're cutting Abandon the Post here. Probably Blessed Defiance as well, because we have a lot of non-creature stuff here, and we have a really big combat trick with Lunar Frenzy for a bunch of extra power and first strike, so we probably don't need the smaller combat trick. But I think every other instant sorcery here, every other non-creature card is going to stay in this deck, so cut three creatures now, maybe even a land. 2 creatures and a land. Yep, I think all of our non-creature stuff is very spicy now. So, still interested in cutting a 4-mana creature. I really don't like 3/2s for 3. And lifelink probably won't be super necessary in this deck. This seems like the kind of deck that like we get out, we're in the winning position aggressively, or we just die. Like if our opponent's playing a slower deck and they stabilize to the point where they have enough blockers to survive, they're probably going to play bigger cards than us late game. So I don't think we really need the cards to help in a little 1v1 race thing. Because if we're just 1v1 racing another aggressive deck, hopefully just getting there with a ton of cheap removal is more than enough. We don't really need the life gain. So the 2 toughness, I think, on this makes that a decent cut to me. And maybe one of the veterans, just because they're a little redundant, or the Voldaren Stinger. The best thing the Stinger does is make sure that you're dealing damage to your opponent, because it's really hard to block it, because you always have the threat of giving it a bunch of extra power while it's attacking with first strike that can always clear out their blockers. But we don't really need to get that 1 damage in that bad. We only have the 1 card that wants us to do so, the Famished Foragers. And we have plenty of other creatures to just attack with the normal way to do that, so I guess Stinger here could be okay. Then I guess we could also cut Dread Knight. If we're cutting Dread Knight, we could put that other 3-mana card back in. That would be alright as well. We could cut Dread Knight, put the 3-mana card back in, cut a land. So average would be like 2.5 then. Which could be small enough to cut down to 16 lands here for sure. Oh yeah, average 2.5. Sure, we cut down a land. perfectly even between red and white here, exactly 12 of each. Oh yeah, this would be the red-white aggro deck in this sealed pool. I do want to take another look at green because we have that really big bomby card in green, and potentially another look at black because I did like some of our black stuff going on as well. But I'm going to save this deck as is, so if I want to play with this deck, I can just leave the deck builder without saving after this. So let's move on to what the green deck would be. Throw in the green bomb. Just throw in all the green stuff and decide what looks like the best support color for green. It might just be red, because I think red has excellent removal, the biggest thing that green's missing. But it could be white as well, go like green-white Coven here. I guess we could play Silverbolt as a removal spell, because we are hurting for removal in green. In black, we just have Infernal Grasp for removal. We have Infernal Grasp and Blade Brand. I don't think that's enough. But there's some solid black cards. In white, we do have Fateful Absence and Brutal Cathar. There's multiple white removal spells, so I think I like looking at green-red and green-white here. Probably. Let's look at green-red first. Probably not actually playing Lunar Frenzies in this deck, because now our late game is just big green creatures. It's our giant consuming blob and our 5/5 and stuff, so or even Rise of the Ants here. So a little early game combat trick, not so impressive here. We also have a lot less early game creatures that I want to play actively here versus how many we had in white. So I'd cut the Frenzies, definitely keep Light Up the Night. Cut Abandon the Post. This is certainly a less aggressive deck. Probably cut Bramble Armor too. We're not really trying to stack up anything onto our creatures, just have them be individually powerful enough. Could keep Geist Flame Reservoir. Maybe we're slow enough to use that as a card draw engine eventually. Ton of creatures here, 21 creatures. I already spoke my piece on Bounding Wolf, why I think it's one of the weaker cards. I'm still relatively disinterested in 2 toughness stuff for 3 mana, just since they trade down into 2 mana 2/2s, which are always popular. Not really aggressive enough to want Snarling Wolf that badly, I think, so I think we'll cut that. And probably Voldaren Stinger as well. Don't like the lack of 1/2 mana creatures in this deck. Mainly 2 mana creatures is what I'm super missing here. So I guess cutting on all those has really slowed down the deck a lot. But in sealed, we should be fine cutting down on cheap cards. Yeah, we have plenty of creatures here for just big green-red beats. Of course, we have all like the early game red burn. Not a ton of it, but enough of it to just cast these instead of 2 mana creatures. You know, light up their 2/2 or Silver Bolted or Immolation or Pyre or Moonrager Slash. Yeah, our green-red seems pretty good too. Green-red seems pretty good too. Definitely a lot more top-heavy, but I like that because our top is really powerful with Consuming Blob and like Rise of the Ants here. The Rejuvenators are good at stabilizing. They have 4 toughness and gain 3 life when they come to play, so they're pretty good at blocking. So we don't need that many cards that we need the extra mana on for these to be good. And we have enough, you know, just even 5 mana cards these can help us hit. If we only have 4 lands on the board on turn 4 when we play Rejuvenator, but we have a bunch of 5 mana cards in hand, they're still going to be helpful for us. So you don't really need a bunch of like 6-7 mana cards to make Rejuvenators good. But we do have like Rise of the Ants, which will certainly make it good. But yeah, I mean, green-red seems super solid if you want to go like red-green monsters here. I don't think either of the decks we've built have been like the clear best deck to play. I think they're both just like super solid decks. This is one of those sealed pools that there's a lot of ways you could go with it and not be particularly wrong. So let's take one final look at one more deck here. Look at the green-white deck. I don't think I'm going to go with the green-red deck over the red-white one. I just really like the deck idea of that deck. with plenty 1/2 mana creatures and those multiple ways to really finish the game, the X mana red spells being really good there. Okay, well, so our green-white deck, I mean, this looks like a fun time, but I'm noticing something pretty clear here early on, and that is the lack of good non-creature cards. We have one Fateful Absence. Even the Rise of the Ants is kind of just more creatures. So if we want to go green-white creatures, green-white Coven here, we really have the creatures. We're just slamming creatures out all over the place. And it's really not the end of the world that we don't have that much removal here. We have a Pestilent Wolf that can trade up into big things. We have a Brutal Cathar that can exile something as long as it's on board. We have Gavany Trapper to keep things tapped while it's on board. We have some creatures that sort of double as removal, but I still think this deck is a little bit too all-in on creatures for my tastes. It's pretty similar to the red-white deck that we built, where we're just dumping creatures out on curve and trying to get in there. But this time, instead of the big red X mana spells to close things out, we have the just big green spells to try to close things out, like the Blob. Rise of the Ants is better defensively than offensively, so that's a little awkward. Rejuvenator is also better defensively. So I feel like this is kind of similar to the red-white deck, where we're just curving out, but this time it makes a little less sense. Because like the red-white deck just curving out, we've got plenty of ways to close the game. Even Moonrager Slashers we can throw those at our opponent's face for 3 damage. So I think I'm going to stick to the red-white lighted up deck there. But yeah, green-white's an option. I don't think this is as good of an option as green-red is or red-white is. I think those are our best 2 decks, but this is a fun option for sure. Just play creatures and attack. Just play dudes. So I accidentally saved by clicking done instead of going to the home screen, so I'll need to rebuild the white deck here, the red-white deck here real fast, but should not be super difficult to do so. And I'm very excited to play with this sealed pool. This is gonna be probably the most aggressive sealed deck that I'll play in this format for a while, so pretty pumped about that. I have to remember what I ended up cutting out of here. Yeah, so there were 2 more cards that I did put in that I ended up cutting. I don't know what I did there. All right. So I think it was... I think it was like one of the 1-mana creatures. Actually, it was Blessed Defiance because we have Lunar Frenzies. And then it was like Voldaren Stinger, I guess. And then, like, this was the deck. Yeah, it was Voldaren Stinger, because with Foragers anyway, plus curving out turn 2 and 3, we never want to have to spend that 3 mana. I think this was pretty much the deck. Close enough either way, so here we are, we're going to light things up. Let's get a better picture for this deck. Cathartic Pyre has a pretty good picture. I don't like that our deck box is Thraben Exorcism, because I think that card is pretty bad. So let's make our deck box Cathartic Pyre and see if we can't burn some opponents out. As we head into round 1 here, 0 and 0. All right, I think I'm going to take the mulligan here. Not having red mana is kind of a big deal here, because the best thing our deck does is curve out really well early game. We're really not doing that here, and Unruly Mob is super bad by itself. Really want the other creatures, so I'm going to take the mulligan, hope to get red-white. We do hit red-white, probably getting rid of Purifying Dragon here. It is a super solid late game card, but we don't know when we'll hit the next 2 mana to play it. I certainly don't want to get rid of a land here. Maybe because we know we're casting Brimstone Vandal, we can just get rid of Lunarch Veteran, because I think Purifying Dragon's more likely to be high impact here. Yeah. We're not curving out absurdly, so the extra like 1 damage here and there from Veteran hitting them Probably not stacking up too much. I'll keep the Purifying Dragon here for late game. And there is a Lunarch Veteran from our opponent. We do have a Gavany Silversmith drawn now, which will be pretty excellent with our Brimstone Vandal, throwing a +1/+1 counter onto a Menace creature. Make a 3/4 Menace. Pretty good attacker. Looks like it's going to be a mirror match here, both of us playing red-white, and Light Up the Night is the draw. Don't really want to kill anything yet. We'll just play Brimstone Vandal. It's possible we'll want to get rid of the Gavany Trapper eventually, but right now it's early enough in the game that if they spend 2 extra mana to start tapping things, that will that'll slow them down quite a bit, so it's unlikely to matter yet. Alright, so they just curve out with Coven here. No 4th land for us on turn 4. We do draw our 2nd Lunarch Veteran, so pretty happy to have gotten rid of the first one. We could slash one of their cards. Could Light Up the Night, one of the cards. We could just play a Veteran past the turn. I'm just going to pass the turn here. If we want to Moonrager slash something, we can just do it on their turn. And we'll get more options that way. Plus we get 1 extra damage from Brimstone Vandal when it becomes night. The Moonrager Slash also gets the cost reduction. Now it only costs 1 mana. That doesn't really matter because we were only casting 1 thing this turn either way. But that extra options here and the extra 1 point of damage could matter. Alright, so I guess I'm just going to shoot the Ritual Guardian. Shut off their life gain creature and shut off the most damage from them. If they want to keep spending 2 on the Trapper to tap down the Vandal, I'm still okay with that for now, and we have the Light Up the Night to clear the Trapper out of the way if we need to do that later. Alright, so now we do have the Silversmith mana, and I'm pretty happy just to dump it out. A 3/4 blocks anything on their board pretty well, so it'll convince them to still keep tapping our creatures down, and we get that extra power on the Vandal, so we get to start attacking with a 3/4 Menace here, and really even things out. 19 to 18 now in terms of life totals. They do attack with Search Party Captain and Lunarch Veteran. Whatever combat trick they have here, I am well okay with trading a Gavany Silversmith for. So we'll see what it is. Lunar Frenzy. Yeah, happy to clear that out early game here then. And another Lunarch Veteran from our opponent. Really the mirror match here. Fangblade Brigand. Gonna be a really good attacker in the future, but for now it's not doing too much for us. But against their board state, we don't really need to Light Up the Night if we just don't attack with the Vandal. So let's just not attack with the Vandal. So Clarion Cathars from our opponent. That's a 3/3 and a 1/1. They gain a ton of life from the veterans. So that is going to stack into a lot of annoying life gain there. Just showing off the Brigand's abilities because it's got a lot of stuff going for it if you want to read all that. Okay, so we have Light Up the Night, we have Cathar Commando, we have the ability to use Brigand's abilities, plus if we just pass turn here, it will be nighttime for the Brigand, so kind of like passing turn and just doing Cathar Commando. They get to tap down the Brigand, though. So maybe we're wanting to light up the Trapper, because then they don't get to tap things down. But if we light up the Trapper, we don't have the mana to cast the Commando. Although the Commando doesn't block super well, it just blocks their 3/3, which our 3/4 is already going to do. Yeah, I guess just getting rid of the Trapper's pretty big here. So we'll get rid of that, and since that only costs 3, we get to play our own Lunarch Veteran as well, so we gain some life as things progress. So without any more support in their hand, they can't really attack in here, so they've got to draw into something. Voldaren Stinger doesn't affect things too much. First strike while it's attacking, and they can buff it a ton. So I guess it does potentially attack in really well. because it will be a first strike attacker, but we could trade our Brigand into it. That would be a pretty bad case scenario. Guess we can just like chump block it with Veteran for a little bit. Fairly certain our plan to kill that, though, is going to be Purifying Dragon. When the Purifying Dragon attacks, it deals 1 to a creature defending player controls, so we'll deal 1 damage to the Voldaren Stinger and clear that out before it gets a second attack. So, I am liking our board state versus their board state, but it's always possible they draw out of this. Just draw any decent card here, could change things around, just like a removal spell. But currently I think we have the winning board state because Purifying Dragon's ability to just like whittle away their board. They have 7 mana up, so they can buff this twice. We would take 5 damage. Pretty okay to take 5 here. I'm just going to not block. Alright, we'll take 3 down to 14, and they're going to cast a Tavern Ruffian. So when it goes to nighttime, that will be a 6/5. Which is pretty impressive. Gavany Silversmith, a pretty great draw. We're going to make sure it's not nighttime by casting at least 1 card here. Although if it goes to night, I mean, a 5/5 first strike by buffing this once is big enough to kill their 6/5, so we still have good blocks during the night, but we also just have great attacks during the day. So let's set up the Silversmith, clear out the Stinger, start attacking for 5 a turn. Quite a big fan of our board state still. And an Ardent Elementalist from our opponent, that can pick up an instant. Lunar Frenzy is the only one, but that is a pretty big one here. Lunar Frenzy going to be a big potential game ender. They have 7 mana out, so they can give +6/+0 first strike and trample to something on an attack. So that could be pretty devastating. Luckily our Purifying Dragon gets to keep going off in the sky, but we need to be very worried about how we block in the future. So they send in a Lunarch Veteran, so they... Okay, never mind. I was going to say, I see a good reason to send in with the Lunarch Veteran. If the Lunarch Veteran dies, they get to bring it back as a 1/1 flyer, and with a 1/1 flyer, if they buff it a bunch with Lunar Frenzy, then they'll have first strike and clear out the Purifying Dragon, so that is certainly an option for our opponent. So we have Cathartic Pyre as the draw. Great draw here. We could Cathartic Pyre whatever they buff in response to their Lunar Frenzy if they do it on anything other than their 5 toughness creature. So holding on to Cathartic Pyre seems pretty good here. I think we're still just attacking the Purifying Dragon. We want to hold up a lot of blockers, kill their highest power 1 toughness creature here. Definitely don't want to kill the Lunarch Veterans. I don't want them to be able to cast flyers on this board. I do want things to stay... I want it to still be daytime, because I'm really scared of a 6/5 getting +X/+0 first strike trample, and that's about the only card I'm scared of getting +X/+0, because we can pyre anything else, so I'm just going to main phase Commando to keep it daytime here for at least another turn. Then we of course still have the mana to hold up Cathartic Pyre for 3 damage. So they go to combat, send in the Clarion Cathars. I'll trade with our Cathar Commando, and if they try to do any fancy frenzy stuff, we can just kill it. I guess, alright, they're going to go for the frenzy attack here, so we'll just make a bunch of good onboard blocks, and whatever block they frenzy to make a bad block, we'll just Cathartic Pyre. So we just go 3/4 on a 3/3, 2/3 on a 2/2, 4/5 on a 1/1, and we take 3 here. If they spend a ton of mana to Lunar Frenzy on the Tavern Ruffian for extra damage, we take, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana up. We take 6 more, so we take 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 6. We take 10 and go to 6. So yeah, we're safe here even if they pyre the Ruffian, or they frenzy the Ruffian. And I don't want to kill the Veterans because I don't want to give them flyers, and I don't want to block the Ruffian because I don't want to convince them to Lunar Frenzy on the Ruffian instead of anything else. Because if they Lunar Frenzy the Ruffian, that's the only one we couldn't counter it with a Cathartic Pyre, so I like the blocks here. They're good on board, and if they try to make them a first strike, they're all small enough to pyre whichever one they target and save whatever creature we've blocked with. Just crack back for lethal next turn. Alright, so they're going to frenzy the 1/1. We'll go ahead and pyre it here. They are tapped out with lethal against them on board here. I think. Well, maybe not with a trapper out. Yeah, because they gained 2 more life as well. So we had 7, 8, 13. Wait, 8 plus 5 is... Yeah, 8 plus 5 is 13. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I guess we had 1 damage from lethal. So we could have pumped the Brigand for lethal, but now that they have a blocker, we can't hit lethal here. So since we can't hit lethal, we have to worry a little about blocks, but we're at 12 against small creatures. That'll be a 6/5, though. Alright, they just scoop them up. So I think there we probably still just attack with everybody. They would tap down one of our blockers if we hold just like one thing back to get in for everything else. But if they get in with everything else, it's 8 damage. They have to draw something really good there. So we attack with everybody. They block a 1/1, I guess. But if they block a 1/1, that dies because of Purifying Dragon's ability. So we actually do just hit them for 18, put them to 3 life there and pass. And then Brimstone Vandal hits them for 1 more. Yeah, I think that was probably an all-attack situation, but I guess that leaves us dead to them top-decking a burn spell or something like that, so it might have been a bit risky. Not super sure what's right there, but either way, our opponent is over it, so there is the concession that game, leading us into 1-0. Heading into round 2 now. Alright. Round 2 is here. We have Cathar Commando turn 2, we have Moonrager's Slash, we have Search Party Captain later. So we could go turn 2 Cathar Commando, turn 3 Search Party Captain, turn 4 Gavany Silversmith. If our opponent plays nothing this game, we have an excellent start. If they play some stuff, we do have interaction, but it will slow down how we want to curve out here. Potentially. So Pestilent Wolf turn 2, I think we still curve out the same way. If our Cathar Commando trades for Pestilent Wolf, that's fine by us, and by attacking in with the Cathar Commando, we get to cast the Search Party Captain for only 3. Alright, they don't trade, which is awesome. Let's get the Captain out, draw a card. We're pretty happy with not trading, because that leaves our Slash open to clear the Wolf out later and potentially just keep hitting for more with the Commando. So Bramble Armor to make the Wolf a 4/3 and they attack in. Again, pretty happy here with the red-white deck. We know what's in our deck and our opponent doesn't, so they're playing super fine. They could have some great aggressive cards in there, but we are definitely happy to be racing because our deck races very, very well. So we are happy that our opponent is cool with racing here. And they are still cool with racing. Opponent must have some really sick aggressive cards coming up. Bat Whisperer, it's a pretty good one. A 4/2 and a 1/1 flyer here. So we can't clear the board. We can only cast 1 removal spell, but we can clear out the 4/2 and just attack with everybody else. All they can block with is a 1/1. And we could kill that with either Moonrager Slash or Brutal Cathar. If we kill it with Brutal Cathar and they have removal in response, they get it back and potentially get another 1/1, so that could be bad. I kind of just like slashing the Whisperer and attacking with everybody. We take like 5 on the crackback, but here they block there, take 5, they go to 5 life also. But maybe Moonrager Slash, again, Moonrager Slash can damage the face, so maybe we play Brutal Cathar and Moonrager Slash potentially hits them for lethal pretty easily in the future. I don't know here. I'm going to go with the Brutal Cathar, actually. I think the consideration of the fact that Moonrager Slash can deal damage to their face is what changed my mind here. Like, it'll still be a bit of a bummer if they kill our Brutal Cathar and get back their Bat Whisper and a 1/1 Bat. But now, even if they do that, all we have to do is hit them for 2 more damage. So even if they get all that stuff back, hitting them for 2 more damage is lethal because we can hit them for 3 with Moonrager's Slash. So we'll see how it pans out here. I'm going to not block. We could sacrifice Cathar's Commando to kill their Bramble thing and take only 2 instead of 4 here, but they're at 5, so it seems a lot more important to keep another creature on the board right now. So they do have the Defenestrate on the Brutal Cathar, which is pretty much what I figured would happen here. But again, the consideration that Moonrager's Slash makes 2 more damage to them lethal means, yeah, we just kill them here if they don't have instant speed stuff. So even with removal in hand, this line ends up better. Unless they had 2 removal spells in hand, which it looks like they did not. So Moonrager Slash clear things out, and that will be 2 wins and 0 losses really quickly in that second game. Just taking drinks between rounds as always. Gotta hydrate. Big hydro homie energy here. It looks like there's going to be a decent wait between rounds this time. Everybody must be playing the Premier Drafts. They're done with Sealed now. But I want to get some more Sealeds in before the Sealeds go away. Definitely really happy with his deck so far in the first couple rounds. The Moonrager Slashes for that extra reach to get that final bit of lethal damage in after an aggressive start. Did work out pretty much exactly as planned. That game just went really well for us with our draws all around. Really the deck just showing off the general idea behind it of just curving out and having those extra ways to find lethal quickly. Again, in this format I found that I don't mulligan enough, because in recent draft formats there's been a lot of ways to mitigate mana screw to make sure you're hitting the right colors, but in this format there's just really not. So like if we keep this hand and then we just keep hitting red sources, we're pretty out of it. Like I guess we can Cathartic Pyre, discard Veteran and something else to draw a couple lands, so maybe this is worth a keep. This is probably the closest that a mono-colored 2-land hand has gotten in a while. Yeah, I suppose I'll keep this one, but I'm still not super sure. Playing against another red-white deck, they start with a Beloved Beggar. Well, we're going to Cathartic Pyre, probably discard Veteran and a Mountain here. Because if we hit 4 mountains, we're pretty doomed. Like, we need to hit a plane so badly that I think we don't really care about the 3rd mountain. Although, we do have a lot of 4-mana cards in the hand, so potentially we're supposed to discard one of those instead. We're definitely discarding Lunarch Veteran because it can come back from the grave anyway. The question is what the second discard is, and I think I'm fairly certain we're supposed to discard 2 cards here, not just the 1. Because of how badly we need to dig for that white source here. I guess Foragers isn't excellent in this board state, because we're not really going to damage our opponent and get that extra 3 mana, and even if we do, we don't have a 3 mana card to play with it. We would just discard a card, draw a card afterwards. So maybe it's Foragers. Maybe it's Captain, because we're not going to make Captain any cheaper, but a 2/2 draw card versus a 4/3 that can discard and draw throughout the game. I guess we we discard Captain here. Keep Foragers. Alright, there's the Plains and a Light Up the Night and another Plains. So it would have worked out to discard the Mountain there. But hindsight is always 20/20. Kind of like killing the Interloper, but yeah, just playing a 1/1 flyer is enough to trade off with it, so we can hold up the Light Up the Night to kill something better. Since it is an X mana burn spell, we can kill something bigger with it, including our opponent, if we cast it late enough. So red, white, and black from our opponent here. Gavany Silversmith coming into play, going to make that Interloper big enough to attack into the Luminous Phantom, as well as have a 3/4 blocker alongside it, so now we'll definitely, well, I guess we could still just Silversmith and make the Phantom big enough here for blocks. Yeah. No, I think we're still not lighting up an Interloper here. Now our 2/2 trades into their 3/2, and our 3/4 blocks their 3/4. We've still got the board state, still got the blockers ready for this board state. I would not say that we have the board state locked up here. Alright, well, I'll trade our Phantom for a combat trick, if they wish. Alright, trading it for an Interloper, I'm definitely very happy with. Dual Craft Trainer. That is definitely going to get lit up here, because this gives double strike to one of their creatures every turn where they have Coven. They don't have Coven right now, but as soon as they do, this card is going to be just a huge, huge problem, to the point where I am going to spend our potential game ender here to kill it, because otherwise I feel like that could somewhat easily just kill me. So let's just get that out of here. So this Beloved Beggar will come back as a 4/4 Flying Vigilance. I think that's what I'm scared about the most right now, but we don't really have to worry about that until it dies. Alright, so we got rid of a removal spell for our Silversmith, so that leaves our other creatures a little safer to survive again. Kind of like playing an Unruly Mob and another creature here, because then if they have more removal, we're getting all the counters we can out of the mob. Might be worth playing a Candlegrove Witch and something else, because then I can play mob next turn and definitely get a Coven attack off of the Witch to start getting in a little more aggressively. I guess the question is, how likely do we think they are to have another removal spell here? They've only cast one this game, and they're red and black and white. All three of those colors have a decent bit of removal. I think I like Brigand and Witch here, and hope for no removal. I guess they stopped there, so they have something instant speed for sure. So I guess mob. Guess mob instead. We'll see what their instant is, 'cause they are thinking during our turn. All right, nothing that they want to cast yet. Maybe it's that red, like, discard a card, draw two thing, but I guess if it was that, they probably wouldn't have played the 6th land here, unless they have a 6 mana card. Suppose we'll find out. Oh, it's a combat trick. It's like +3/+3 till end of turn or something. I'll take 3, I guess. Bat Whisperer, alright. Well, I don't know what instant is in their hand. They could have played really well and just, like, full controlled that turn to really get us. Because if they didn't have an instant in hand and they just, like, snuck in that attack for the Bat Whisperer, that's a pretty sick line, pretty stealthy play from our opponent. Could hold up Fateful Absence for only 2 mana here, but it's not super necessary. Because, like, we just block well with First Strike stuff from Fangblade Brigand. It's kind of like just Forager's Witch here. I guess I could flip Tonight and have a 4/5 scary thing out, but... well... yeah, you know what? I guess If we attack with Brigand, I feel like they just block with Beloved Beggar, and then they just bring it back as a 4/4 flying thing. But this attacking in, it leaves them open to potentially trying to do their combat trick thing, and we can blow them out with Fateful Absence if they do. And then if they don't do that thing, we can still just kill the beggar, and then we can Fateful Absence it when it comes back as a 4/4. So let's just see what happens here, I guess. Alright, so we're just going to kill the beggar here, sure. Get your 4/4 Flying Vigilance next turn. Alright, and I would like to hold up the mana to Fateful Absence if something drastically bad happens here, so we are going to take 5 this turn. Or 4 this turn. They hit us with Gavity Silversmith and the 1/1 flyer. But they don't hit us with Bat Whisperer because the Witch can just trade for that. I guess they could. They could go for that trade if they want. Alright, they don't. So, yeah, take 4, go to 10. Alright, they get the Generous Soul. So the thing is here, even though we do get to just kill the soul, they've still gotten pretty great value out of the beggar, because now we have spent we spent a card of ours to kill it, and they draw a card off of it still with the clue token. So, certainly not bad at all. With the Foragers coming out, we are pretty safe to slam in here, with the Brigand at least. I do still like leaving the 2/2 to block their 4/2. But 4/3 to trade with their 3/4 seems fine to me. Brigand is like a really excellent blocker getting first strike, but I really like getting the damage to our opponent here, so we can start discarding drawing immediately. Lunar Frenzy is the draw too, so we can get first strike on anything we block with, turn any block into a good deal for us. Excellent draw. Alright, sacrificing the clue that we've given our opponent to draw a card. So we keep taking 1 a turn from the bat, but we do get to start attacking pretty well. Now we can hold back our first striker on blocks and just keep attacking with Foragers and our flyer. I suppose. Stromkirk Bloodthief, that's going to keep getting bigger as we are losing life. So that will put the counter on any vampire, so I guess they can put the counter onto the Bat Whisperer if they want, but they can't put the counter on the 1/1 bat token, that's just the bat. Alright, so they are going to put the counter on the Bat Whisperer and make that a 5/3. Moonrager's Slash is the draw, pretty excellent draw. I do want things to flip to Night here, because then we get access to Brigand's 5 mana ability, giving the whole field +2/+0, plus Moonrager Slash will be cheaper then. Got some great stuff to do at the Night. We have Slash plus Frenzy here, so we're pretty safe to send in 2 attacks. Although we are at 9, so we have to worry a little bit, but I think not that badly, with a Moonrager Slash as a backup. Cathar Commando, flash in a 3/1. They can destroy an artifact or enchantment, that doesn't matter, but they can trade that into our Famished Foragers. So we are probably going for Lunar Frenzy here to win this fight. And then, if we cast Lunar Frenzy, it is not going to be nighttime, so we'll have to hold on to 3 mana to cast Moonrager Slash. This is going to look so suspicious, but I do really want to hold on to Moonrager Slash. So let's just, yeah, +2 here. That extra damage in. And this way we also have the mana to use the Brigand's ability once if we don't need to Moonrager Slash. They're at 10 life and we're at 9, so we are turning the corner here. Doing more damage to them than they are to us. I still don't want to slash the flyer, because slash could push to lethal pretty easily. And we're only going down to 8. We have quite a few swings from this 1/1 bat before that kills us. The Vampire Interloper, though, we may want to slash. Yeah, because they're putting a counter on it here, too. If we don't immediately kill them with Moonrager Slash this turn, we're going to want to kill the Interloper. But I suppose we can wait. We can wait until attacks to decide that, because it's possible. It's possible we hit them for 6 here. I guess that's really unlikely. They saw us hold 3 mana up here. They've got to be fairly certain we have Moonrager Slash. They know we have something at instant speed. I guess we have Forager's ability and Brigand's ability, but yeah, Forager's ability costs 3 mana, so that could be kind of hiding it. This is probably wrong, but I'm just going to go to my turn and see what happens. So, definitely like the Forager's attack. Could draw a card before we do it. See if we had anything good. Brimstone Vandal. Probably not casting that because I am still pretty happy to hold up Moonrager Slash. Okay, so this would be a trade here, and we hit for 2, they're down to 8. And then we just kill the Interloper. Yeah, I think we allow this. Alright, that does make the mob a 2/2. We can flip to nighttime if we just pass, and then we slash for 1, and we have the mana to buff Brigand with First Strike. Yeah, that's certainly better than slashing right now, because now we have a flipped Eviscerator. I guess I should have put a stop on their upkeep before they drew their card. That way we could slash it before they draw a card, in case they drew a pump spell here to save it. But we did miss the opportunity to put a stop at the upkeep there on Arena. Luckily, they didn't hit any combat trick or anything, so we do just get the kill on the Interloper. And Blood Sheaf just going off here. Gonna make itself a 3/3. Go to our turn. We have a Brimstone Vandal to play. We have 7 mana if we play this Plains, which is enough mana to buff the whole field, plus Eviscerator once, but it's not enough to cast Vandal if we want to buff the whole field here. They are at 8. We'll have 2 blockers if I cast Vandal. I think I like attacking Eviscerator here. We can buff this. Not enough to kill them. We could hit them for 7. But this kills them in 2 swings, and if they just block, we just kill one of their creatures. Yeah, this feels good to me. The Witch isn't flying anymore, so it's not a good attacker. The Mob isn't ever flying, so it's not a good attacker. Yeah, just send an Eviscerator, probably just give it First Strike, just in case, and then cast the Vandal. Just in case they have their own 3 damage spell like Moonrager Slash to clear it out. Alright, there's Vandal, and I guess I'll play this land in case of some weird thing where we need to give this +1 First Strike. Like a fight spell, I guess. Make it have 1 more power for. I guess it's more likely we'd need the land to discard to something than we'd need it to buff Eviscerator there. So we'll see what they have here. One card in hand. The bat is hitting us. Another Lunar Frenzy for game. That'll do it. Bummer. We had super lethal in our next attack with Eviscerator's ability. But that'll be the first loss of the day. Not bad at all. Just a fireball off the top to clear things. Certainly happens. It's definitely what our deck is trying to do to our opponents. So cannot be too unhappy about that. 2-1 now heading into round 4. Lunar Frenzy certainly a way to end some games. Alright, so here we are in the next round. Two and one now, pretty solid start. This is a pretty great hand. Lunarch Veteran, turn 1. Turn 3 we get to cast our Search Party Captain. We do have Light Up the Night to clear something out of the way, and a Famished Foragers for turn 4. Our opponent is playing white as well. Get that turn 1 Lunarch Veteran. We're playing against black and white, and we'll see what they're doing turn 2 here. They're reading the Lunarch Veteran, probably deciding it's not a big enough deal to get rid of it, especially because it has its Disturb effect. So a Clarion Cathar potentially from our opponent here. They have 2 mana up. Could be Clarion Cathar, could be Olivia's Midnight Ambush. Either a 3-1 flash or a -2/-2 to a creature. Neither of those really do anything against Lunarch Veteran. Those are both fine. So we'll just attack in. I guess if it is a Clarion Cathar, it might be worth considering just holding back the 1-1 so we could block their 3-1 if they attacked with it. But as you can see, it was not a Clarion Cathar, so it's probably Olivia's Midnight Ambush or something. So we can attack with Lunarch Veteran here. If they block, we Lunar Frenzy. If they don't block, then we just get a Search Party Captain onto this board, draw a card. Yeah, I'm plenty happy to just clear out the Celestial Sanctifier with our Lunar Frenzy here, just whittle down their board state a bit, keep all our creatures out. We have Light Up the Night, so we already have one of our big X-mana ways to close out this game later if we need it. It's part of what is so good about Lunar Frenzy. Sure, it doesn't like feel great to spend a Lunar Frenzy early doing something like that, but just the fact that you can is so good. So you can still do attacks like that on curve. So there's the Olivia's Midnight Ambush. They're going to cast it after getting a Slaughter Specialist on the board. That way the Specialist gets a little bigger, making it a 4/4 here. So we're probably going to light that up once we have 5 mana, but for now, kind of just let it go off. So what do we do here? Just play a Search Party Captain, because we need to draw more mana. We need to make sure that we have 5 mana next turn to clear out the Specialist. I kind of like that. We could also play Silversmith, then we're threatening good blocks. We have a 3/4 and a 2/2 to double block the Specialist. The problem with that is if they have another combat trick, or an instant speed removal spell like another Ambush or Defenestrate, it plays really poorly. Then they kill all our creatures and Specialist becomes like a 6/6. So I think we just play Search Party Captain here. Try to dig for our 5th land. Alright, Moonrager Slash is not bad. We could double up and cast 2 removal spells to deal with the Specialist. So the Specialist, if you don't know, it just gets a +1/+1 counter whenever one of our creatures dies. That's the relevant text for this point in the game. And also it gave us a 1/1 when it came to play. So we'll just take the 4 here. And Search Party Captain from our opponent with 2 mana up. Well, we could really get got. Okay, I was going to say we could really get got if we hit the land here, because they could have a Midnight Ambush for that 2 mana, but they did cast a spell. It doesn't matter here because we do not have the mana to clear out the Specialist again. So, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, so if we play a Lunarch Veteran and go for the trade with the Interloper, this is going to become a 5/5 and we won't be able to kill it until we have 6 mana. Because then we'll need to light up the night where X equals 5. So I don't think we want to do that. I think we'd rather Immolation the Interloper. We could also just take the damage and just play a Silversmith here, and that could convince them not to attack with the Specialist. Yeah, let's see here. Maybe this shuts off an attack from the Specialist, and then we just take the 2 in the sky. The only way it wouldn't is if they have another removal spell here, and if they have another removal spell here, we're in a bad position whether we play the Silversmith or not, because if we play the Silversmith, they kill it and they attack in well. If we don't play the Silversmith, if it's an instant speed removal spell, then when we try to light up the Knight on the Specialist, we just get destroyed. So, just going to play the Silversmith there because an instant speed removal spell from our opponent is bad either way. And this way we potentially stop more damage, and it looks like we have. No attacks from the Slaughter Specialist this turn. Morkrut Behemoth, a big old 7/6 menace, going to be a terrifying card. Lunar Frenzy for us. Unfortunately not a land here. We are playing a 16 land deck, because when we're on the aggressive, we don't want lands at this point, but against a 4 toughness creature, we could definitely use them. Lunar Frenzy can stack up to kill that pretty well, but the Morkrut Behemoth's still a big deal. So Lunar Frenzy for +2 and First Strike, that's enough to definitely clear out Specialists, so attacking with that doesn't work well for them. We could Immolation and hold up 3 mana. So we can either Lunar Frenzy or Moonrager Slash. I kind of like that. Immolation, Interloper. I think I'm sort of just letting Morkrut Behemoth hit us for a turn, but now we have a good block for the Specialist. Just double block holding up a Moonrager Slash, or just Lunar Frenzy. We don't have a good block for the Morkrut Behemoth though. Because if we double block Behemoth and then Lunar Frenzy, we're not killing it in the first strike step, so we're still going to lose both these creatures and the Specialist becomes massive. So I believe we double block Specialist like this. And if their plan here is to Defenestrate or Olivia's Midnight Ambush, some kind of instant speed removal, then sure, they kill one of these, but the other one with Lunar Frenzy is still going to be big enough to kill that. This plays better against Defenestrate, but this plays better against like a pump spell from them, because if they have a pump spell, we might be doomed to lose both of these creatures. I think I want to do this block and just take the Behemoth damage. So like, and this puts them in the position where they have to cast their instant first. Like if we have to cast our instant first, then it's more likely we get blown out. But if they have to cast their thing first, it's more likely they get blown out. And this attack just on board is very good. Or this block on board is very good. We just get rid of the Specialist and lose a 3/4. Alright. Looks like they're just going to take the onboard trades. We are down to 8, though. Morkrut Behemoth hits pretty hard, hitting for 7 there. See what else they're up to here with 5 mana up in main phase 2. Gonna bring that back from the grave with a Crawl from the Cellar. Can't stay away, even better. So that just immediately brings it back. If it would die, exile it instead. Okay. So we can just clear that out with a Moonrager Slash during their end step. So not bad, and it's exiled so they don't bring it back again. But then they bring back the Vampire Interloper probably to keep hitting us in the sky. Alright, they're passing turn here. But they could have chosen to cast something and they chose not to. So I don't think I'm going to Moonrager Slash. If I Moonrager Slash, and then again, if they have Midnight Ambush or Defenestrate, this becomes a 4/4 in response to the Moonrager Slash, and then we're having a really bad time. Plus, if we Moonrager Slash here, then when they can't stay away to bring back the 2/1 flyer, we'll have nothing to deal with the flyer, and at 8 life, that's a pretty big deal. So we're just going to go to our turn then. So here... I feel like we're at the point now where we're just going to have to make plays that get blown out if they have instant speed tricks. Like we're at the point now we kind of have to double block Behemoth plus throw Moonrager Slash at it. That's kind of our only out to killing it. Like, or we just tap out here and then just put ourselves at their mercy. Just dropping a Silversmith, trying to go for a double block with a 4/4 and a 3/4 on the Behemoth, so that we're blocking it with 8 toughness. Letting the Specialist go off there if we do that. Yeah, I think I'm going to play Trapper and hold up Moonrager Slash. They have something instant speed here, so I don't think it really matters. What we do here, I'm pretty sure we're just going to get demolished. But I think that this plays the best, because if we just tap out and put ourselves at the mercy of whatever their stuff is, it's going to be a really bad time. And by having a Trapper on this board, if we can get rid of one of these, the Trapper can keep the other one locked down. And then we've dealt with everything except the Interloper they can get back with Can't Stay Away, and they can get that back. As a 1 toughness creature, we can deal with that with just a 2 mana Light Up the Night. So, like here, if our block goes off and Moonrager Slash kills Behemoth, which it might go off because, like, on board we're not killing Behemoth. But yeah, if this goes off, we clear Behemoth off the board with Moonrager Slash, right? They can't stay away to get back their 2/1 flyer. Doesn't really matter how big Specialist is. We just spend 2 mana to kill the Interloper and 2 mana to tap down Specialist, and then we just keep tapping down the Specialist and start playing the rest of our hand throughout this game. Like, this seems solid. This line here. Oh, they bring back the Sanctifier. All right. So I guess we don't get to kill the Sanctifier unless we draw land. If we draw land, we get to kill the Sanctifier and tap down Specialist. Alright, there we go. We have hit the 5th land now, so we get to kill the Sanctifier and keep the Specialist tapped. And then hopefully we can start casting stuff after this turn, but I'm still very scared, as you can tell by that minor voice crack like 10 seconds ago. Alright, so they're taking a look at the board, look at the Specialist, look at the Trapper. They know what's coming up here. Just going to tap the Specialist. They can kill the Trapper in response if they have an instant speed removal spell to send a message, but the ability still goes off, so it's kind of just for fun. Alright, sending a message, I see. Our Trapper is gone, so we are going to have to start chump blocking the Specialist, and of course chump blocking the Specialist is going to be a really bad time for us, because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, brings it farther out of reach of our removal. We have one unconditional white removal spell, one removal spell that'll kill anything, but most of our removal's red, which means it's damage based, so we can't kill a 6/6 with it. So we really need to get to our big red removal spell. I guess we can still try to go for the Lunar Frenzy here. We would have +5 in first strike, so we can block Specialist with a 1/1 if we just pass turn. And then Cut Purse kind of just goes off repeatedly, bashing us here. Is that just our safest line? Otherwise, we play a Lunarch Veteran and a Silversmith. Silversmith then blocks the Cut Purse. We chump block the Specialist. and then we have a bigger creature out to Lunar Frenzy up. It's like if we wait a turn on it and make the specialist bigger here. Yeah, let's just go all in. See if we can get the Lunar Frenzy off here. If they have removal, we're just dead on board. If they have removal when we veteran Silversmith, we're still pretty dead. This way makes the most use out of every single one of our creatures, because now our 1/1's killing the specialist. And then every other creature we play, we can chump block something else later or actually trade on blocks. What I really, really like about taking this line, if they don't have the interaction, if they had the interaction, we're dead there. But because they didn't have the interaction here, now it's possible that we can get this Luminous Phantom out as a 1/1 flyer and then put a +1/+1 counter on it so that we have a 2/2 flyer out, and a 2/2 flyer is big enough to trade into their 2/2 flyer. Because that's the next problem, is how do we deal with the Covetous Geist, because this is going to come out at some point. However, now they have an Interloper as well, so we need to deal with a 2/1 flyer and a 2/2 flyer, so I think we hold on to Silversmith then. We play this Luminous Phantom to block the 2/1 flyer, and then this Lunarch Veteran, when this one comes back as a Luminous Phantom, we use that to make that a 2/2 flyer with the Silversmith. So we don't play Silversmith yet. We play Luminous Phantom from Grave to trade with the Interloper, and then play a Famished Foragers here. I suppose that we could attack in here to draw the card off the Foragers, discarding the Veteran instead of casting it as a chump blocker. But casting it also gains us more life, so I think we'd rather do that. So let's just go Phantom Foragers. Oh, you know what the problem is? I should have discarded the Veteran. Because the problem is now if we block Cut Purse this turn and they play it as a 2/2 flyer now, then we obviously we can't get our Lunarch Veteran to die because we're not going to trade it off on blocks. All right, but this whole line was completely different and unexpected, so that would change everything here. Yeah, now we just need removal for one of these flyers, because we only have one flyer left, and the flyer is going to trade with one of theirs. It's not going to stay on the board after a block, so we're back in top deck mode. We have to just draw a removal spell. Luckily, though, the Lunarch Veteran is going to gain us a little bit of life in the meantime, potentially. All right, Fateful Absence. That is a removal spell, which we did need to draw into. However, we are again having the problem where if I just play this Lunarch Veteran and the Silversmith here, then I don't have the +1/+1 counter to deal with the 2/2 flyer later. I think I discard Lunarch Veteran to Foragers now. I think I should have done that a while ago. I think I discard it to now so I can play it as a 1/1 flyer this turn, so we trade our 1/1 flyer into their 2/1 flyer. We trade our 1/1 into their 3/1. We block their 2/1 with our 4/3. They then bring it back as a 2/2 flyer, but then we have this to deal with the 2/2 flyer. That deals with the whole board. Yeah, that deals with the whole board. We just need them to draw nothing here. We draw a Candlegrove Witch. Witch is alright here. Another creature for later. Alright, so here comes the Interloper and the Cut Burst. Here comes the whole board, so we just make the blocks that I suggested last turn. Clear everything out. They cast a 2/2 flyer. We kill the 2/2 flyer, and that is the board state dealt with, but they do draw another card off of the Fateful Absence, giving them a clue token. But then we've dealt with everything they have on board. If they just draw into more creatures on the ground, we can deal with that by just having creatures of our own. Very smart move from our opponent to play the land, because now they have the mana up to use the clue token we're about to give them. I don't think we want to play the land here, though, because we just have 6 mana worth of cards to play. So we're not going to use 7. So kill the flyer. Drop out Silversmith for the maximum amount of damage here to kill them as quickly as possible, potentially. We hit for 5 this turn, then we start hitting for 8 a turn. So they're dead in 2 turns after this. Like, we attack now, and then 2 turns after, we'll be hitting for lethal. And these are also just the best blockers we can have, a 5-4 and a 3-4, instead of just a little 2-2 or 3-3 on the board. So I like curving out this way instead. Instead of dumping out the Witch. And I definitely like holding the land in hand to discard to the Foragers. Yeah, this card didn't look super exciting early in the format, but the more I've played, the more I have enjoyed this card. Just being able to dump out your hand quickly on the aggro and also filter through your land draws later in the game has been very nice. So 2 cards in hand from our opponent, their draw from the turn and their draw from the clue token. One of them is Infernal Grasp to clear out the 5-4. Sad day for us, that means no more card draw, but the other card is just a land, so we curve out as well as we can, try to get as much damage as we can as quickly as possible. That is about all we can do here. Just hope they do not draw enough creatures to block all this fast enough. Hitting for 6 damage a turn if they don't play anything. They have drawn their card per turn and they are thinking on it. Both down to 18 cards. We've both drawn quite a bit. Pretty late in the game here. And this could be ye old rope. But even just a removal spell here could prompt a lot of consideration from our opponent, because even if they use the removal spell on the Silversmith, the mob will get bigger, stuff like that. There are a lot of things to consider here, so it could just be a complex card. Just an Awakener, so our opponent may have just been AFK or something like that. Because Awakener is just a pretty easy, just slap that on the board. Oh. Do we attack all here? I feel like we don't attack all, because if we attack all and they draw a creature, we go to like 1 life when they attack in and sacrifice it, turning us into a 4-4. That seems really bad. I like holding on Unruly Mob just in case. It's only 1 more damage to them. So I'd rather hold it off and have a blocker potentially. And they're going to take the chump block here and just take 2 this turn. Oh, never mind. They have changed their mind. They are down to 3 now. So if they hit nothing, they're dead on board. And they scoop them up, so I guess they hit nothing that turn. So I believe that's 3 wins now for the red-white aggressive deck here. Some pretty long games in the sealed here. 3-1 with lighted up. Heading into round 5 now. Another game I really didn't feel like we were winning. We had to make some plays in the middle there where it was like, well, if they have interaction, we're mega dead, so just hope that they don't. This is the best line if they don't. And it worked out. They just ran out of instant speed stuff. Alright, so opponent on the play here, but we've got both of our colors. Lunarch Veteran turn 1. Definitely a keepable hand. Some 4-mana stuff here, so we'll need to hit some more lands, but with opponent on the play, we'll be drawing on our first turn. Gives us a little bit more time to hit those lands. Alright, so I will keep here. opponent does mulligan down to 6. They are playing black at the very least. We did draw a 3-mana card to play, which is very good. That is only if the Lunarch Veteran gets an attack in, which it might not. So we'll see here. Hobbling Zombie. Yeah, Lunarch Veteran doesn't really attack in well after that. So we're probably not going Search Party Captain here, but I suppose we get to attack in. If we lose the Veteran, it's like a little bit of a bummer, but we get the immediate card draw off of the Captain, and we can just bring back the Phantom anyway. Like, is it worth it for the cost reduction here? Might be. Right. So opponent's on triple black at the start here. They send in the Hobbling Zombie, no blocks. We'll let them get their Bat Whisperer out if they want to get a 1/1 flyer here. Arrogant Outlaw is the play, though. The 3/2 that drains us for a couple life instead. That works, too. We'll send in the Search Party Captain. See if we get a Famished Foragers going off. And it looks like we do. We can draw discard here, or we can just cast Moonrager Slash. So I think I'd rather draw discard, because I feel like we can kill better things with our Moonrager Slash than this 3/2. But also just slowing down our opponent is not bad. They've only got 3 cards left in their hand after this. We have a Fateful Absence for their next big card. Now let's get aggressive here, slash the Outlaw. Maybe it would have been better to slash the Zombie. And they would still have like really aggressive attacks. But we'd get the Death Toucher out of the way, so if we get counters from Gavany Silversmith, our board could still attack in through all that. Alright, so now we can Fateful Absence to kill that 3/6, because it's going to block super well. Like, we're never getting through that, so I think we do that. Now we can hit for 6 here. We can play an Unruly Mob or a Lunarch Veteran, which is better for us. Probably Unruly Mob here as the first play. Or we could just discard a card, draw a card, because they're both just 1/1s. So they don't change things that much, but probably better to play one than to just discard, draw. I'm actually going to get the flyer out. It plays better with Gavany Silversmith, because now when we Gavany Silversmith, we have a 2/2 flyer, which is really nice. So they're down to 13, we're down to 14. Things are pretty even here. They have a Clue token to play around with, but we both have 3 cards in hand, so they have a little bit more cards in hand, we have a little bit more cards on board, and our life totals are at parity. Very close looking game right now. They are no longer attacking him with the Hobbling Zombies. The Hobbling Zombie is going to probably clear out the Famished Foragers at this point. We have 6 mana here, so we get Silversmith to get a counter on Phantom and Captain before we attack to get in for a little bit more damage, and then we can just flash in a Cathar Commando later to curve out well. They could flip the switch on us. No flip the switch though. Could mean some kind of instant speed removal, but blue and black I don't really expect a combat trick much. I guess they could have a Startle. Startle would just kill the Captain. Nebelgast Intruder is basically just Startle. So I guess that actually kills the Phantom if they want to. Alright, so they kill the Captain with their little Startle trick, which is fine, it's our weakest creature on board, and we'll be trading with Luminous Phantom. Alright. Not the worst combat trick they could have had in hand. Things are still pretty okay over here. Gonna flash out Cathar Commando for the highest power creature onto this board. And then we'll cast Unruly Mob before we attack in next turn. Covetous Castaway, really good blocker for a 3-1. 3-1 into a 1-3, they just trade with each other. Which is a very bad time for us. They get to mill themselves some and get a 3-4 in the grave. Alright. Looks like a Vivisection, though, to sacrifice that and draw some cards here. Means they're getting some great value off of it. However, it won't be on the board to block our Cathar Commando anymore, so now we just have excellent attacks. We're hitting them for at least 5 here. They block the 4-3, take 5. Seems awesome. Yep, and we can even draw a card off of the Foragers if we want now, because we can still get the Unruly Mob out first, and then just discard this Plains, draw a card, which we should probably do pre-combat in case we hit a 1-mana card here. Is there any 1-mana cards in our deck that could change things? Yeah, we could hit Immolation for a single red mana, or one of our 2 Lunar Frenzies for a single red mana. So let's hold up 1 single red mana here and discard this land, see if we hit Immolation or a Lunar Frenzy. If we hit one of those 3 cards, we are in a super good spot. Light Up the Night, also excellent here, but not until next turn. So it does not win this combat immediately, or win the game immediately. Immolation would have won immediately. Because to get that out of the way, they would have taken 4 more damage. But Light Up the Night will definitely win next turn if they don't have the mana to flip the switch. If they don't have 3 or 4 mana untapped to counter our spell. So they're at 4 life with no blockers on the board, so they need to get something out. Ghostly Castigator it is. They only have 2 mana up after that. So if they don't play a land for turn here, this could be where we get the Light Up the Stage in without getting countered. And they're still dead on board here. They block there and take 4. So they actually need to put more cards on the board. So I expect they just pay 1 or 2 more mana here to get another creature out, and then Light Up the Night just finishes them off. And I just realized I've been calling that Light Up the Stage a bunch because I used to play that a ton in Mono Red and Standard. So, as we expected here, they were dead on board, so they had to commit something else. But committing something else on the board means they're tapped out, and I don't have to fear any counter magic from them. We can just light things up here for 6. Alright. That was a pretty nice deck from our opponent. They had some pretty bad luck that game. Had to mulligan and milled some good cards. Definitely saw the Miller Jadar and some stuff. Some sick rares. Some pretty lucky stuff for us that game, leading us into 4 wins and 1 loss, heading into round 5. Again, my short-term and long-term memory is completely useless, so I could not tell you. But I know we are definitely at a pretty positive win rate here, doing quite well with the Boros deck. We have Brutal Cathar, turn 3, no matter what land we hit. I'm gonna keep this one. We have Fateful Absence if we hit no lands. We do hit the mountain immediately, so an excellent draw for us. Got paid off for the greed there. And a Vampire Interloper turn 2. We have Pyre / Frenzy and Light Up the Night. Would I rather just Light Up the Night right now because I do have Frenzy and Slash to try to finish off our opponent's life total later? Or would I just Pyre right now to hold on to the Light Up the Night? I think I'm going to Pyre, and we can wait until their turn to do that, see if they play anything pre-combat. Pretty unlikely, but possibly. Celestial Sanctifier, would I rather kill the 3-2 on the ground or the 2-1 flyer in the sky that can't block? Let's kill the 3-2 on the ground and then Brutal Cathar can kill the flyer. Yeah, I guess either way we're killing both. So maybe we kill the flyer first, just take less damage. Yeah, and I'm probably less concerned with them getting a 3-2 back than them getting a 2-1 flyer back. Alright, so they're very, very likely in black-white here to just have a removal spell to kill the Cathar. So I expect that is their play for turn here. Defenestrate it is. So fine, we slowed them down, gives us more time to draw into some stuff here. Right now, with the cards in hand, I think we're just slashing Sanctifier because we don't have any creatures to put on this board. I don't want to give them a card draw from Fateful Absence. Plus, that can kill bigger stuff. Light Up the Night can kill bigger stuff later. Yeah, I just want to slash. And I'm going to do it during our main phase so that we don't swap to Night here, because if we swap to Night, they are getting that mill effect out, looking at the top 2 cards of their library, putting 1 into the graveyard. Lets them scry a little bit, basically, dumping any lands if they don't need them. So Blood Pact here. Draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Nice value play here. Nice little draw spell. A Candlegrove Witch. Lunarch Veteran is the draw for us. I don't super want to light up the Witch, but we also just have no way to block it well right now, so it might be the play. We'll still have Lunar Frenzy to try to close things out. Still have Fateful Absence for a better creature. Yeah, let's keep the board clear, keep everything dealt with here. Another Candlegrove Witch. And an Unruly Mob. Alright. Search Party Captain. Make it cheaper with Lunarch Veteran. I guess we don't really need to, but I'm also not really super blocking with Veteran, because they just attack with a 2/2. Yeah, and this way Veteran might just win this combat with a Lunar Frenzy. Again, now we don't have this to like win the game out of nowhere later, but seems like a really good deal right now to just get the Witch out of the way and draw a card from Captain. Alright, and a Cathar Commando is the draw. Oh dear. Alright, well I'm killing the absolute heck out of this game. Out of this thing. This card has won pretty much every game I've seen it stay on the board for. They get a 1/1 human every time they attack, regardless of what creature they're attacking with, and it's a gigantic vigilance creature. So Adeline, super scary card. We're going to kill it with Fateful Absence if we have to. I guess we could Lunar Frenzy it on blocks again, rather than give them the card draw with the Fateful Absence. Yeah, we can wait till they attack with it and get the Frenzy block in, but then Unruly Mob gets more counters on it, because we're killing more of their creatures that way. I don't think we have enough creatures to just like go for it with another attack here and hope they block for Frenzy. But I guess we only need to give +2 to the Search Party Captain, so we could do that and then just play Cathar Commando. If they don't do the block, we play Cathar Commando and then Lunar Frenzy the Commando instead. Yeah, sure. Alright, so we're just getting in for 2 here, that's fine. Now we can cast Commando and Lunar Frenzy there next turn. Hoblin Zombie. 2/2 Death Touch. When it dies, they get a Decayed Zombie. The Decayed Zombie, of course, is going to give them another creature to die for the Unruly Mob to get bigger. No attacks it is. Alright, Cathar Commando it is from us then. And you can go ahead and draw your card, I suppose. Unruly Mob can get bigger, but we can kill Unruly Mob with Lunar Frenzy, and at this point, it's possible we won't even have to do that. It's possible we could Lunar Frenzy for lethal at some point later on. So right now, attacking with Cathar Commando is fine on board. If we attack, we're probably Lunar Frenzying if they ever block with Unruly Mob. So just attack both here. Lunar Frenzy, whatever Unruly Mob blocks. Take the trades elsewhere. Alright, and then if Unruly Mob doesn't block, we'll just hit for 2. Let Unruly Mob kind of go off here. It's going to be a 4/4. It'll be a 5/5 after it attacks here. Play the mana so that our Lunar Frenzy's a bit bigger. And they draw a card off the Clue token. Again, the card draw off of the Fateful Absence has been a pretty big bummer. It's actually gone down a decent bit in my card ranking after this this sealed. That has been relatively important. Oh, they're just going to scoop them up. I guess they're just drawing lands off the top there. We did have 2 cards we didn't know about, but I suppose they are just not good, and they are annoyed at the amount of Looter Frenzies we have, because we only had 3 power on the board, so they had a good amount of time to draw into something there. But I suppose just drawing pretty poorly there for our opponent. Well, 5 wins, that will take us to 1,600 gems in 3 packs. 1 more win to break even here. It does cost 2,000 gems to play in sealed, I believe. And even if we don't get that 1 more win with the amount of packs that we opened up here, it makes up for it if you're trying to collect cards. If you're specifically just trying to play limited, though, it's not really breaking even yet. We need to win 1 more game for that. And that's basically what I do. I just try to play limited, primarily. So let's get 1 more win with our red-white sealed deck here, shall we? And a Brutal Cathar turn 3, Commando turn 2. Pretty great hand all around. This could be the hand to do it. So Mountain as our land per turn. Pass turn. Blue and black from our opponent. They're starting off with a Bait Hook Angler, which is going to be pretty good against our deck. Our deck has a lot of small aggressive creatures, and the fact that this can kind of trade twice is going to be quite good. So we are likely to try to just exile that with our Brutal Cathar for as long as we can. But another Bait Hook Angler. Double Bait Hook Angler here at the start. Definitely going to put in some work to walling off our early game plays. Alright, so Cathar Commando here, turn 2. And I suppose we could cast our Harvest-Tide Infiltrator instead. If this becomes a 4/4, it'll attack in well. And they are playing blue-black, so they could have bounce spells, removal spells, a bunch of ways to clear the Brutal Cathar. And if they do just get their creature right back. But yeah, we get an attack out of doing this as well. Like, worst case scenario, we get to slap in with Cathar Commando once. Best case scenario, they have to wait a little bit to draw into removal. And then we have dealt with the Angler for a decent amount of time. So I like the Brutal Cathar here because it does make the Cathar Commando attack in well that turn, plus we'll have Lunar Frenzy up next turn, so we can just attack in well that turn with that as backup. Moonrager Slash as well. Lots of ways to block well here. And they're going to Eaten Alive, sacrifice a Bait Hook Angler to get the kill here. Pretty happy with that. We do clear out the first half of one of their Bait Hook Anglers that way. So again, I'm not like happy to have our Brutal Cathar killed, but I'm happy that it was to a removal spell that they had to sacrifice a creature to, rather than just like a Defenestrate where it's just a 1-for-1 trade straight up. So I like holding up Frenzy and Slash and just attacking in here. We can clear out one of these at the price of something that isn't a creature, so we can keep all our creatures around for later. If they double block, then we're living the dream, but I see absolutely no reason for them to do that. Alright, so we are just going to Frenzy here, I think. Yeah, I like Frenzy better because... I like casting Frenzy here better because the Slash can kill things that aren't attacking or blocking, so things that they're specifically trying to keep out of harm's way. Let me just cast our Harvest-Tide Infiltrator here. Definitely going to cast our Purifying Dragon next turn, which will be pretty great. Big old flyer that can definitely attack into Bait Hook Anglers all day long. Rotten Reunion, alright. Get a Decayed Zombie, exile a card from our grave. I don't think that we have any recursion in this deck, so we're pretty fine with them exiling cards from our grave. But they do get those Decayed Zombies to do some stuff with later, potentially. We could slash the Angler here. Because they have 4 mana up here, it's very likely they just have an instant, because otherwise, I mean, what are they doing with their other 2 cards in hand? The fact that they cast nothing there with 5 mana up is really suspicious. So, yeah, I don't think I want to just slam down the dragon here. I think I'm going to cast Unruly Mob. Because I'm fairly certain they have a counterspell here. And we'll go for our Purifying Dragon next turn, so we'll just like Moonrager slash the Angler, get in for 6. And if they counter it, we just don't attack. And then Purifying Dragon gets to come out next turn. Slash to get aggressive here. Alright, there's the counterspell. So that is 1 counterspell out of the way for Purifying Dragon next turn. But now they have 6 mana up and they've cast nothing. Which is better, Dragon or Bladebrand? Or Brigand? I think the Eviscerator is just stronger because it's nighttime right now, so this is a 4/5 that can buff the whole field, so we probably try to cast the Dragon here. But don't do it till post-combat, because we can just attack with a 4/4 trample and have a lovely time. Boop. For 4, they're down to 12. Yeah, I mean, whatever we cast is going to get countered here, but I think Purifying Dragon is actually the weaker card currently. Yep. I'm going to cast Purifying Dragon. I suppose if the only card left in their hand is a counterspell, we're doing pretty good here because the Assailant just keeps getting in. It looks like it wasn't no counter for the Purifying Dragon. I guess we might find out what it is here. 6 mana up, instant speed. They have the flashback on Rotten Reunion, if nothing else. Just get a Decayed Zombie. You don't have to exile a card for Rotten Reunion. You can just choose nothing. But it looks like our opponent wants to get max value out of that, so they're not going to exile. They're not going to cast it when there's nothing to exile in our graveyard. Alright, Eaten Alive to clear out the Purifying Dragon. Maybe the last card in hand is a counterspell, but they knew that they were a removal-heavy deck, so would rather do that. No, I doubt it, because they just had 1 card in hand. So the last card in hand could have just been Eaten Alive, and then they just didn't want to cast it when I just had like a 4/4 trample on board. And the holding at instant speed was probably just the Rotten Reunion. So we attack in all because we have Lunar Frenzy now, which lets us attack in and keep all our creatures on the board and still cast Brigand here. We can't hit for lethal, can we? Because they take... This has Trample, plus, I mean, Lunar Frenzy Trample. So it gets +4, so that's 7. They take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we don't lethal here, so let's just Frenzy for 1 and then cast Brigand. For 1 mana, not X equals 1. So we keep all our creatures on the board, and unless they have like a board wipe here, they're pretty dead next turn. Unless they play, I guess they could play a blocker and a removal spell, or 2 blockers. There's ways to survive here for sure. Alright, 2 blockers it is. So block there, just take 4, go to 2. But, yeah, they're forced into some pretty bad blocks here. We just attack all. Yeah, so that works. We kill the Drifter. Our mob is now a 2/2. I guess they do kill Commander without losing a creature, so the blocks aren't that bad for them, but it puts them down to 2 life, and all our creatures have at least 2 power, so still definitely like the attack here. And with these mana sync abilities, I'm just going to play the land here. That way if we hit a land next turn, we have enough mana to give everything +2/+0 and Eviscerator first strike. Alright, and there's the concession, just did not draw any outs to the board state. So that will be 6 wins. We're at least breaking even in our gem payment here. and only 1 win away from another 7-win run in this sealed. We'll see what we can do here, heading into round 8. And I have now acquired maximum hunger. I should have been playing a flesh taker deck here. Eat some stuff along the way. So I always record on my days off, and I always start the recording just right in the morning, and then I don't eat till I'm done recording. This is like the second video I've recorded today, but the first one took a couple hours, and this is a couple hours now, so starting to get the lunchtime rumbles here. Well, we have Immolation and Pyre for interaction, whatever we draw. It's awkward not having creatures here, but I think I'm still going to keep. Like, even if we hit a white source, we don't have proactive creatures, we just have Gavany Trapper, which is essentially just a removal spell. It's like an Icy Manipulator type card. Would not really count this as a proactive creature trying to hit our opponent or anything. So Harvesttide Sentry, well there we go, there's a 2-mana 2/2. Now we can start attacking, potentially. So we'll get that onto the board. Take our 3 damage nice and early here. Green, black, and blue from our opponent, and Unblinking Observer is their spell for the turn. A 2/1 that they can tap for a blue mana for an instant or sorcery. Not super scared about that. They can spend it on disturb costs too, I guess, but yeah, not super scared about that, but we can kill it just to get an attack in with the Candlegrove Witch, which seems fine. Immolation isn't really going to kill anything bigger later, so it's between that and the Sentry for what we kill with Immolation, and I'd rather kill that so we can start attacking our opponent. And then if they go to combat, we can just tap the Sentry, hold on to our Pyre in case they play a better creature. We could also just cast our Pyre if we need be, but I doubt it. I doubt we will need to here. So I am going for the Harvesttide Sentry tap down. They are in main phase 2 with 4 cards in hand. And they pass the turn. Alright, well, I've got plenty of instant speed stuff, so I can just cast nothing here to play around Flip the Switch. Just attack for 2 with our Witch. Because I don't have a ton of instant speed stuff, but the only thing I really want to do is instant speed, just tap something down and shoot something else. Lunarch Veteran isn't super awesome here, and if I don't cast Lunarch Veteran, I get to tap something down and cast Cathartic Pyre, which I think I would rather do. Olivia's Midnight Ambush to kill the Gavany Trapper, so that is what they passed for. No way to save that, so it happens. Guess we can kill the Sentry while they're tapped out with our Cathartic Pyre. But that leaves the shield down for better creatures later. How likely am I to just Pyre the Sentry if they go to combat and attack in before they cast anything? Pretty much 100% going to do that, so I'll just kill it right now. Because if I want to save Pyre for better creatures later, then that would mean that I'm not going to kill it when they attack with the Sentry. So the fact that I'm concerned enough to just kill it when they attack with it means I should kill it right now so they can't have a Flip the Switch to counter it. Because if they have better creatures to play, they're just going to play them main phase 2 after they already attack with the Sentry. So after I'll have already expended my removal spell. So Crawl from the Cellar is the play here. Just pick up that Harvesttide Sentry to recast it here. Sure. We can clear it out with a Light Up the Night or a Lunar Frenzy. We prefer the Lunar Frenzy because Light Up the Night, of course, can kill creatures that aren't in combat, as I said before. So Lunar Frenzy for max damage here. Of course, also playing Veteran here, though, so could have gotten 1 more damage with Frenzy if I didn't cast Veteran, but better get the Veteran on the board. That can attack in for 1 more, so it only has to hit them 1 time to make up for the 1 mana I didn't spend on Frenzy. And there's Drownyard Amalgam. We're actually going to need quite a bit more mana to kill that with a Light Up the Night, and they've hit a lot of cards off of it. They milled 3, and 2 of them have Flashback, Path to the Festival, and Malevolent Hermit. That can be a 2/2 flyer. We can clear that out with Light Up the Night. So just get a Purifying Dragon out. That'll trigger the Witch's Coven to attack in for 2. And next turn we're attacking for 6 damage with flyers. Seems pretty great. I expect they're going to tap a few mana here to play their flyer from the grave if they don't have anything good in hand. I would expect to see a Benevolent Geist here. Look at how happy he is. He's having a great time. We'll see what they have. Definitely starting to get really happy about our board state, because if they tap out for the 2/2 flyer, they'll still have a couple mana up, so it's not exactly tapping out, but if they do that, we could attack with like just Purifying Dragon. They probably don't block it. We hit them for 4, and then Light Up the Night is very close to lethal. So, feels good. I guess alternatively, we can just Light Up the Night on the flyer, which is probably better. Ooh, Ghoulcolor's Harvest, kind of the spider spawning of this set. Have to have a lot of creatures in your grave to do it, but then you get a bunch of decayed zombies. Unfortunately, it's a much worse version of the spider spawning because, of course, they can't block or anything. It's not super going to help our opponent here. Alright, so we could just clear that out and then attack with the 2 flyers and kill a decayed zombie, and then draw a card with Search Party Captain. Search Party Captain being a pretty massive draw here. Just excellent draws this game all around. So they are at 4 life, facing a 4 power flyer with no flashback removal spells. 2 cards in hand. One of those is going to have to be removal. If it is removal to clear out the dragon, then our Candlegrove Witch will not have Coven any longer. So we will not have any flyers if they do that, but we will still have 3 attackers against their 1 blocker, so we still get in for 3 damage, put them to 1 life if the Purifying Dragon is killed here. And unfortunately, looks like no removal from our opponent. Means that we will make it to 7 wins with only 1 loss for the Boros aggro deck here. We lit it up today with a nice 7-win run with only 1 loss. So we're just up in value here, 2,200 gems and 3 packs as the prize. Excellent run for that sealed event, but that is going to end today's video. As always, if you're enjoying the content, stick around. There will be plenty more Magic Arena limited videos on this channel and some Historic Brawl gameplay at times as well. Those are the formats that I play the most, but I do try to play a little bit of any exciting event that I'd be interested in coming up. So, as always, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.